present moment. Life is good. So my name is David Bothe, and I started a nonprofit organization that we train veterans, their caregivers, their loved ones, healing practices to help with any kind of trauma. It started specifically for war trauma, things like PTSD, some of the guilt, some of the horrors of war, that sort of thing. And it has since expanded to have all forms of utility for things as simple as hurt feelings and heartbreak and mourning, and bigger things like psychic bombs or some of the big transitions like death or the loss of a relationship or the loss of a pet. And so my invitation to you is take what resonates, and we get to have some fun with it. So those are some heavy topics, and we get to lighten it up a little bit. So to start with, I'm very happy to be here. It feels like I found a wonderful place with wonderful people doing wonderful things, and for me that's magical. So thank you very much. I'm grateful. During that meditation, one of the things that struck me is the way nature permeates everything. The crystal bowls, the gold bowls, often take me on nice journeys. The column of white light is an intense spiritual practice for me that helps me connect with my higher self, or the divine, or sometimes information or grace. And all of those, and the breath. What can we say about the breath? So much. Those three combined was the inspiration for this meditation. And the layers on top of it, the glistening sunlight on the water from my vantage point, the crows outside, they all added layers of sanctity to it. And that's one of the things that, one of the skills that we're going to work on today a little bit is shifting to the sacred or a reverential state, because it's part of our theme. It has healing properties. And so the inspired topic for today is spiritual first aid. And so if you think of a first aid kit, if maybe not quite to the level of a snake bite, but if you fall and scrape something, then you put a Band-Aid on it, or you put something on it to cool, or maybe something for a stingray, like a jellyfish. If you imagine something, a kit to help yourself. And so we're going to go through a few things that you might be able to add to your personal spiritual first aid kit. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I'm hoping there's a lot of utility in this, and I'm hoping there's a lot of fun in it today. Okay, so we're going to follow, since we're halfway in a mystical trance already, we're going to do a couple of shifts that involve becoming more heart-centered and connecting with the divine, and more importantly, connecting with how the divine is communicating with us in this moment. The practice is called Spark of the Divine. At the base of your heart, there's a spark where the divine dwells in you. What color do you see, feel, or know in this moment? Find that color and that feeling and breathe on it. Let the spark expand into a flame. Breathe on it again and let that candle flame fill your entire heart. Notice how it feels. Breathe on it one more time. And let that light fill the entire room if you like. Thank you. With gratitude, release the practice and let the flame return to the size of a spark, burning merrily at the base of your heart. So I am a holistic healer, and I work with inherent holistic healing, which means I don't really use needles, I don't really emphasize crystals or even crystal bowls. I have these tools, but in my work I only work with the healing that resides inside the human being. And the two basic classifications for that are free will and grace. And this is a practice that involves a little bit of free will because you're engaging and you're listening and you're shifting your awareness and your intention. For some people, this is a mildly mystical or a majorly mystical experience. And for other people, it becomes a gateway that will help them find a new way to connect with the divine. And so with all of these, let your experience be your own. If it's beautiful, let it be beautiful. If it's not particularly clear, allow that. There's no right or wrong with this. But we're also looking for affinity. So if it feels like it's a nice practice for you, then just make a little check mark. It's like, okay, heart spark is something I need to either cultivate or I already feel it. And so if you feel it, one of the ways we use that practice is as we apply the practice of today. And so let an intention arise, please. I need more connection, perhaps. I would like to further my connection. I would like a new form of connection. Or I'm hurting. I need some help with. And then you fill in the blank. My dad passed away about a month ago, and some of my extended family members are suffering in ways that I would love to be able to hold space for. And so I'm going to use this practice when we do it the next time to hold space for, to see how the divine wants to help me with acceptance, with space, with energy, with loving prayer, with whatever. Okay, so if you guys will take a deep breath, lengthen your spine, please. And all this is by invitation. Find that spark at the base of your heart. Let your intention arise. Connection, healing, awareness, help. And then ask, what color helps me with my goal? Yes. And that is the shift. So breathe on that color. Let that color and feeling fill your heart. Swamp it with gratitude. Breathe on it and let it fill your entire aura. Front and back, top to bottom. Let it spin through your chakras. Let it flow through your meridians. Feel your aura burning with that feeling and that color. And then release that practice and return to the present moment. Woohoo! So thank you. I'm witnessing a variety of experiences, and I'm truly grateful. Thank you all. So stepping back into our left brains for a moment, one of the tricks to inherent holistic healing is shifting. If somebody is we're looking for ways to unstick the stuck. If someone feels trapped or if they're in a singularity, if it feels like they're in one state, like agony, or dread, or fear, or pain, or the past, we want to shift it. And that practice and all of these practices involve shifts. And so almost every spiritual practice, every prayer, music certainly involves a shift. Thank you so much. And the way that you brought the world to us this morning was quite lovely. And for me, I was counting the shifts within the songs, and then the shifts within just the way that Fiji feels versus Scotland. Scotland has been on my brain recently, and so thank you for listening to this thing. All right, so it can be useful to shift into your heart. It can be useful to shift from I have to do everything to I can receive help from the divine. It can be useful in that I'm not alone in this. This can be a powerful connection practice. And so if those results are there for you, please by all means incorporate this practice. If those results aren't there for you, by all means find the practices that work for you or continue the practices that work for you. Okay, so now we're going to shift into a slightly different place. And I think this is a combination of right brain, left brain, but there's what I classify as a right brain perspective, and this is a prayer. And so the one shift that I would invite you to experiment with is shifting into a reverential or prayerful place. This is a healing prayer. And so we'll probably do three versions of it, and you'll get to feel both the reverential shift and in a way a supplication. But it's not a begging, it's more of a, if this is available, I accept it sort of thing. Okay, so it's called Prayer for Peace. If you would lengthen your spine, take a nice deep breath, shift your being to a reverential or prayerful state, and follow along in your head if you are so called. I pray for a moment of peace. With your help, I release pain, suffering, and anguish. Blessed by your grace, I am at peace in this moment. And again, I pray for a moment of peace. With your help, I release pain, suffering, and anguish. Blessed by your grace, I am at peace in this moment. So I absolutely adore this prayer because I tend to be a little on the high strung, I tend to be a little on the heavy thinking side, I tend to be a little bit of the bzzz, kind of the fiery pitta sort of aspects. And peace is really nice when it arrives for me. I chase it kind of like a butterfly, and sometimes I catch it and I'm grateful. It's a very utilitarian prayer. If you have pain, suffering, or anguish, and you have an affinity for this, you can shift your nervous system towards the releasing of the pain, that optional suffering, and that anguish, which seems to find all of us at some point or another. But the beauty of it is that healing is out there, and healing is possible. So we're going to do one more version of that, but we're going to do the intentional version. For people that don't have an affinity for reverential prayer, often strong intention, clear consciousness can be a wonderful tool. And so my version of that is, I choose a moment of peace. I release pain, suffering, and anguish. I am at peace in this moment. And so shift your brain away from the reverential side and shift it to the clear consciousness. And follow along if you're called. I choose a moment of peace. I release pain, suffering, and anguish. I am at peace in this moment. Part of my calling is an ecumenical calling to work with different people of different faiths, creeds, backgrounds, nervous system types, you name it. I love both of those prayers. And I love those prayers when they only work singularly. And so if someone doesn't get the clear consciousness side or doesn't really get, there's not an affinity for the reverential side, doesn't matter. If it works, I'm celebrating. And if neither one work, I release that gently and I move on to, okay, well, what does work for them? Because there's always options, and healing surrounds us so much. Sometimes I get kind of overwhelmed with the mystical awareness of how much can shift our nervous system in positive ways. And I want to hug it all. I want to just enjoy it all. I just want to say, ooh, music and nature and whatever makes us sparkle. And practices like yoga or meditation or Ho'oponopono or Tonglen or all these wonderful things that can just do absolutely fabulous things for us. And stillness and silence and grounding. All those. Sometimes it's almost overwhelming, and so we have to choose. Or not. We can lighten up about it. At least that's always a good practice for me. All right. So we're circling back. We're working on a spiritual first aid kit. And we did a heart spark, and we've done a prayer for peace. And fortunately, this is on video, so no notes need to be taken. It's recovered for eternity, hopefully, or whatever counts for that. And we're going to do one more here in just a moment, but I want you to do a check-in. I want you to just pause, and I want you to see how much fun you're having. I want you to see how much awareness is there. And just for my personal benefit, I want to know what makes you sparkle. And so you don't have to think it out loud, but you got to feel it. Thank you. More, please. Thank you. You're easy. How many hundred things make you sparkle? So there is the other side of, usually when we start talking about healing, we're kind of stuck in there's a harm, there's a hurt, something's wrong, and we have to fix it. And so much of the practice of healing is cultivating the things that make us sparkle, the things that that bring us joy, the things that may be difficult but that we know we need to do. Sometimes subtle things like washing dishes or weeding the garden. Just sometimes the chores itself can be a positive nervous system shift. You can't really underemphasize the positive power, the positive side of the healing practices. Cultivating joy, appreciating beauty, pausing. However, whatever your affinity is, if it's with music, if it's with nature, if it's with a specific religion or a practice, follow those callings and do that. The more good things you do, the more resilience you'll have when the issues of life arise, because they seem to arise for all of us. And if there's someone they haven't arose for, I'd love to hear their experience. And there's value in all those trials. They crack open our heart. There's something, if you've been through something, you can look someone in the eye with an authenticity that other people can't have. Like, I've never been chemically addicted, and I work with people that do recovery programs, and they have an authenticity that I can't bring. I can bring authenticity to heartbreak. I can bring authenticity to hurt feelings. I can bring authenticity to worthlessness or lack of self-worth. And I can bring a lot of authenticity to connection and to spirit and to that healing is out there and that we're on an evolutionary path. So there we go. Take a deep breath. I think I got most of you with that. So somewhere in that little litany of self-worth, heartbreak, what was the other one? Anyway, find one of those that if it tapped into you, and then choose either that heart spark or choose that prayer, whatever you can bring up, the feeling of it or the action of it. But apply that heart spark, apply reverential prayer, apply consciousness to shifting it. Perfect. You guys are quick and easy. It's a joy. So I'm in a new profession. What I call holistic healing has been around for 5,000 years with Chinese medicine and some of the other stuff in Native American medicine and herbalism and the folklore wisdom of my European ancestors. And so in some ways it has pieces with that overlap, and in other ways it's completely new because we stand on the shoulder of giants. Anyway, that's a whole other half hour right there. And so I just want to say from a personal standpoint, working with the way that Spirit has shown itself to me to help other people heal has been absolutely magnificent. I've worked with Native American medicine men, and I've had Crow Totem come through me to help them. And to stuff that they've already heard, they just needed some validation, they just needed that one extra voice in physical form to say, yeah, this is your reality, this is your experience. And that type of medicine would not be appropriate for 9 out of 10, 90% of the other people that I work with. But that's how Spirit got through to them. I've worked with being as an ecumenical practice, it's lovely to see the divine coming through, cracking through. And so, by all means, please hold strong to how the divine comes through to you. If it comes through in science, if it comes through in rationality, if it comes through in music, if it comes through in math, whatever makes sense to you, pay attention to it, because there's some beauty there. Okay, so we've done a head practice, we've done a heart practice, and now we're going to end with a grounding practice. And it's a reverential one for some people. It is in fact mystically sacred for others. It's also a healing practice in that it can release. And it's called Earth Mother Exchange. And if you guys would, take a deep breath, lengthen your spine. You can open your fingers and toes if you like. I want you to send down some roots. Once again, this is by invitation. Use your consciousness, send down some energy, use your spirit, use your heart. Send down the best roots you can send down in this moment. Become rooted. Let the mind and the heart soften. And feel yourself rooted in this lovely ground. Feel the river flowing across the bones of the mountains. Feel the soils. Feel the trees. Send down anything you have excess of. If you're hurting, send some pain, send frazzled energy. release it. Mother Earth knows how to recycle. Take another breath in. My understanding is we are all fragments of the divine. We are all unique. We are all equally loved and lovable. We are all special. If you would send some of your own divinity down to the earth via those roots and share some of your heart, some of your mind, some of your compassion, some of your sparkle, some of your joy. Breathe one more time. If you like, reach a little farther with your roots. Find a cave, a crevice, a hollow, something in the Earth Mother that has a gift for you today. Nurturance, joy, connection, sanctity. Draw that up. Feel the exchange. I give either that which I need to release, I give that which I can give from a free and open heart, and I receive. And let what you receive be personal and unique. When you're ready, release the practice. Return to the present moment. Draw your roots up, knowing you can do this practice anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet on a plane flying towards Scotland or some other wonderful destination. Call it gratitude for whatever your experience was. Positive, neutral, it's all good information. Thank you so much.